is the wind from the east, from the west, from the north, from the south, breathing in, breathing out. By breath, by blood, by body, by spirit, we are all one. By breath, by blood, by body, by spirit, we are all one. The water that is my blood, my sweat, tears from crying, and the water that is your blood is your sweat, tears from crying, and the rising of the tide is in our veins, in the ocean wide. We are in the rising steam, rushing river, running stream. By breath, by blood, by body, by spirit, we are all one. By breath, by blood, by body, by spirit, we are all one. The earth is dust, the earth is clay, flowers blossoming and fading. We are dust and we are clay. We are blossoming and fading. Every color, every sound, every place is holy ground. Oh, every living thing. Can you hear it loud? Can you hear it sing? By breath, by blood, by body, by spirit, we are all one. By breath, by blood, by body, by spirit, we are all one. The fire in my heart, my soul flame burning, is the fire in your heart, your soul flame burning. We are spirit burning bright by the light of day. In the dark of night we are shining like the sun, like the moon, like the Holy One. By breath, we are all one. Oh, by breath, by blood, by body, by spirit, we are all one. By blood, by body, by spirit, we are all one. By blood, by body, by spirit, we are all one. By breath, by blood, by body, by spirit, we are all one. We are one.
Hello. Welcome. I am Amanda Stone-Cushing, Director of the Wellstreams program, that we are here to celebrate today a group of graduating folks who have done incredible work together. And this song that we started with was used many times throughout the 3 years to celebrate the sense of community that built amongst these lovely friends here. So I'll just make a couple of quick announcements, and then we'll be underway. So this is the 13th class of students to graduate, and we are so delighted you're here to celebrate with them. Your support and your encouragement and accompaniment, all of this, these many months they've been engaged in this, is invaluable. And I hope you know great gratitude goes out to each of you as well. So for those of you who might not be familiar with this building, restrooms are out this door to the right. You'll see them. And then when we're done this afternoon, please stay and help clear off the table of refreshments, mostly desserts, as you browse through the incredible creative works that each student did. And these works reflect the transformation that they experienced within themselves. In a little bit, you'll see them expressing some of the transformation they experienced as a whole, as a group. So we get both and. So to get us started here today, I'd like to invite Sharon Reed. How do I even thank or recognize? Sharon is a priceless, absolutely wonderful colleague that I get to work with. She has been involved with this program since before it actually was offered. She was part of the original Dreaming team that brought this to life in 1996. It's been a while. So, without any further ado, I'd like to invite Sharon Reed to come forth and offer our invocation for today.
There's a wonderful other piece of music besides the one you heard this morning that starts by saying, "Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. You can feel its mighty power and its grace." And if there was ever any doubt, let it be dispelled as you feel the power and the presence of body, blood, spirit that resides in this place, in the presence of the divine mystery and in the presence of these graduates and in the presence of each of you gathered here. Because what we celebrate today is that each of them brought their presence to every day, every week of this program. And by presence, I mean they showed up week after week with their full self, their full authentic selves. The threads and the remnants and the pieces of their story that they felt maybe weren't even worth sharing, and risked offering those pieces and remnants to weave this fabric of love that wouldn't have been possible if it weren't for their presence. Creating this space where the divine presence wove amazing things in and through around them that many of you have been witness to. They spoke their truth with vulnerability and began to trust each other enough to let go of the outcome and to stay in the process. And they learned to be present to themselves and to notice the divine mystery that was embedded as a spark of life in them from the beginning, coming to fullness. So here we're not just simply celebrating 13 individuals who were training to be spiritual directors, although that may happen. As much as we say we're going to celebrate the power and the grace of the loving presence gathered here, and the loving presence that loves all of us into life. So, with my apologies to John O'Donohue, whose words I have stolen and defamed a bit by adding my own, I ask you to join me in blessing the presence that pervades this space with love and peace and openness and joy. And may each of you receive a piece of that presence that is meant for you. May you awaken to the mystery of being here and enter the quiet immensity of your own spirit. May the blaze of divine courage enable you to speak your truth and to stand up for and respect dignity and justice in the world. May the strength of Spirit's loving presence sustain your hope as you enter into the pain of our world. May you always respond to the call of your gifts and the courage to follow their path. May you be present to the small miracles that each day holds, savoring the ones that seek no attention. May you be changed by journeying into the depths of your soul and bring compassion, belonging, and the hope you find there to those who most need it. May you never lose sight of the fact that you are beloved. And may you always experience your life with its joys and sorrows, woven in love, and bless our world with your divine, authentic presence. Amen.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Precious words. So I'd like to invite Alejandro Rodriguez, who is my friend and my colleague. He is the executive director of the Spirituality Network and a graduate of Wellstreams from the class of 2019. And he is here to say some words to you all as you launch out of this program. So, Alejandro.
Good afternoon. I just have to start by saying I am an incredibly blessed man to be able to work with so many gifted, talented, and loving people. It is probably the joy of my life to be able to be in this role. And I want to start with a few words of thanks. And I have a choice. I can either see you or I can see my notes. So I'm going to choose to see my notes. First of all, I have to say thank you to the staff, the board, the supervisors, the instructors who make the Wellstreams program possible. They share so much of themselves, and we just could not do this without them, and they are just a joy and a delight to be with. We also have plenty of folks here who are friends of the network who contribute their gifts and their talents in so many ways. And every interaction I have with them is also a joy. For those of you who are family and friends of the graduates, I want to thank you for supporting your loved ones through this experience. I imagine that if you're anything at all like my family, you may be wondering a little bit, what is this all about? It's so hard to describe unless you experience it, but I'm sure that you notice a difference in the people that you love because they have been transformed through this process. And they are more loving, they are more giving, they are more caring because of this experience. So as you approach this afternoon, I invite you to approach it with curiosity and also with an invitation to know that what we offer to these graduates, we offer to many, many people in different forms. So I want you to think about maybe Wellstreams would be a good thing for you to consider as well. At your chair, there was this little card. On the back of the card is a QR code. When you have a moment, I invite you to scan this card, and it will take you to a website that provides some orientation to what the Spirituality Network is all about. You may even choose to give a donation in honor of the loved one that's graduating today, or you might find something that you might want to experience. I have to call out two things in particular. We just launched a new podcast series last month, and I would highly encourage you to listen to the Christine Heister, who sang just moments ago, provided one of the guests, and Amanda was our first guest. Beautiful stories that we're telling through this podcast series. And then also, we've got an event coming up on June 21st. It's a concert where many of the people who are musically talented are going to share their gifts in a sweetly contemplative and reflective evening. And I hope that I see everyone at that event. So finally, to the students, thank you. I had the extreme privilege to be with them a week ago Thursday when they presented their projects to one another and to their supervisors and staff. That was my first interaction with this group of people. I hadn't been engaged at all. And I was so incredibly touched by the way they shared of themselves. If you want to see a window into somebody's soul, stop and look at each of those presentations that are around the back of the room. They are stories of transformation. We created a common experience for people to go through over the course of 3 years. And each one of them had an individual and unique journey that's represented by those projects back there. So if that isn't the spirit of the divine working through us, I don't know what is. It is a beautiful story about how our lives can be touched and transformed. You truly have been woven together in love, and it is a joy and a blessing to be able to experience that with you. At the Spirituality Network, our vision is awakening lives, transforming the world. I am absolutely in love with this statement because it indicates that we are always on a journey of awakening, that our lives are never complete, and we always have the opportunity to learn more about ourselves, learn more about each other, learn more about the divine. And that's really what we offer with the network, opportunities for us to be awakened. And once we receive that awakening, if we really open ourselves up, then we are called to transform the world. And I'm sure you will agree with me that this world is in need of transformation. It is a beautiful place, and it is a broken place too. And we need people like these 13 individuals to help us change the world. When I was in my corporate job, I was responsible for training at a Fortune 100 company, and we talked about the fact that the half-life of a skill is about 5 years. So if you learn something about 5 years later, half of what you've learned is no longer relevant. And there's an opportunity for each of us to continue to grow, to continue to learn, and to continue to explore what's going on around us. And I think that is nowhere more true than when we're learning about the human condition and we're learning about the divine. This is a lifelong process that we're invited to. It was that spirit of continuous learning that called me to participate in my own Wellstreams program. I knew that I couldn't stop learning, and after completing my Wellstreams, I knew I still wanted to soak things up. I had the pleasure of participating in a workshop that my mentor from my Wellstreams experience led earlier this year. It was based on a book by Jill Bolte Taylor called Whole Brain Living. It was an amazing experience, and it prompted me to read the book that the workshop was based on. And I want to share a few thoughts based on what I learned from that book and from that workshop. So apparently, I'd always heard about left brain and right brain. Well, apparently, there is not only a left brain and a right brain, but there's a front of the left brain and a back of the left brain, front of the right brain, back of the right brain. The left front brain is the part of our brain that is focused on verbal. It's analytical. It looks for structure and order, and I'm thankful for that. The left feeling part of our brain is focused on what's right and what's wrong, what's black and what's white, what's good and what's bad. It is often fear-based and causes us to be cautious. On the right side, our feeling brain is expansive. It loves unconditionally, and it's creative. The right thinking part thinks in pictures. It's compassionate. It's flexible and resilient. And the amazing part of us as humans is that we can tap into all these parts of our brain to have what Jill describes as whole brain living. So I think there are times when we come very used to using one part of the brain. It feels comfortable and natural for us. But the invitation is to use all parts of our brain. So I want to spend the balance of my time sharing some thoughts that I have about that, and maybe some things that you've got floating in your head but aren't expressing, and not just the graduates, but all of us in the room. And for context, I want to remind us all that we are feeling creatures who think, not thinking creatures who feel. And we are also spiritual beings on a human experience. So keep those things in mind. So to the left thinking part of our brain, first of all, thank you. The world asks a lot of us when we're operating in this space. It's what is treasured and valued, especially in Western society. I can't imagine the chaos that we would be in if we didn't rely on the things that happen in our left brain. For our new graduates, some invitations. I want you to notice when that part of your brain is engaged. I want you to be cautious, especially if it's a part of your brain that you use a lot. When you're in spiritual direction, you may find yourself asking a lot of head questions or making a lot of head statements. Those are perfectly appropriate, but you want to balance them with other things. So be careful that you're not overusing this part of the brain that we so naturally lean into. For all the rest of us, I would invite you to think about differences. We are often called in this society to find out what brings us together, what things we hold in common. And I think that's appropriate, But there's also a huge treasure that we can tap into when we notice the things that are different about us. That is where life really gets celebrated, when there's something about me that's different from you, and we can honor and celebrate that. So I invite you to look for those things. To the left feeling part of our brain. This is the primitive part of the brain that focuses on discerning if we're safe or not. It is what leads to the fight, freeze, or flight responses. We often have a feeling in that part of the brain, and then we react. I invite us all to stop and assess where we are to determine whether or not that part of the brain really does need to be engaged, or we can engage other parts of the brain. For our graduates, I know that one of the things that you may be wondering about is, am I ready? Am I prepared to move out into the world and do spiritual direction with other people? It is very natural when we move into a new role to think that we're an imposter, that we don't deserve to be there. You absolutely deserve to be there. If you hear nothing else from me this afternoon, I want you to hear, you are enough. And I also want you to remember that you're not done. You have work still to do. So keep engaging with us, keep engaging with the rest of the world so that awakening continues to grow. For the rest of us, not only is the left brain feeling part about fear and risk and stuff, that's where happiness resides. So make sure that you're noticing when you're happy and call attention to the things that make you happy. But I also offer a caution with that, because happiness is typically externally focused. And know that you need something to trigger that happiness in you externally. So as I move on to the right-hand side of the brain, I want to be perfectly candid. I'm going to be very biased. This is where I think the hope of humanity lies, if we tap into the right side of our brain. It is what first attracted me to the Spirituality Network when I attended a men's retreat back in 2006 or something. I knew I was with kindred people. And if you spend any time at all with these folks right here, you know that they're tapping into the right side of their brain. That is where we make connections with the divine. And I want you to pay attention to that. So the right feeling part of the brain is where joy comes from. I've got a good friend, and we've got this ongoing debate about happiness and joy. He always wants me to be happy, and I want to be joyful, because joy comes from inside. And no one can take my joy away from me, because it's something that comes from within. So I want you to be happy. I want you to be joyful especially. And the right side of the feeling brain is also very open and expansive. We live in a very polarized society, and we need to be open, and we need to be able to engage with people who are different from us so that we can work together. For our new graduates, I want you to take risks. I want you to feel fearless. I want you to know that you are well-trained and you are ready for whatever it is that comes before you. I want you to love unconditionally whenever you engage with people. And I recognize that loving unconditionally is risky. It is not easy to love unconditionally sometimes, but that's what you're called to do. So I invite you to do that. For the rest of us, I know that a lot of people feel like they don't have creativity. They don't define themselves as creative. And I think that's BS. I think we are all creative, and we've had the creativity beaten out of us. But that creativity resides in us, and I want you to tap into it. It is there, I promise you. And then finally, I want you to go with your better nature. Be supportive, be friendly, be kind, be grateful, share. These are all the things we learned in kindergarten, and we need to call them to the surface. And then finally, our right thinking part. This is where I think our true awakening comes when we consider the experiences of others. The right thinking part focuses on we rather than me. And the more that we can focus on the other, the more likely we're going to understand other people's situations. One of the joys of my corporate life was working on an initiative that helped shape the culture of the organization. And one of the most important things that we did was to teach people the concept of be here now. This happens in the right thinking part of our brain. And I don't know of anything more important, especially as a spiritual director or just as a human being, to be in front of someone and give them your full undivided attention. Be absolutely present with them in that moment. And that will completely wipe away any feelings of guilt or shame we have about something we've done in the past. It will eliminate any fears or worries we have about what might happen in the future. If we're fully present, none of those things matter. So I invite you to be here now. For our new graduates, I invite you to think in terms of pictures and experiences. Often we focus on words to try and tell the story. We know that a picture tells 1,000 words. That's where you're going to uncover deep and meaningful things with people as you explore things outside of the verbal realm, and your right brain will help you do that. I invite you to lean on your compassion as you walk with others. Their stories require your empathy, not your judgment, and I want you to be compassionate with yourself as well. That's not always easy for some of us, but you deserve that compassion just as the person that you're sitting with does. For all of us, life is about change. Nothing remains constant, and I don't think that it should. We have the ability to be resilient and adaptive if we choose. Sometimes we focus only on the world that's within our reach. I invite you to reach beyond what is near you so that you can bring in everything that we're experiencing as human beings. When we notice that, that's where real transformation happens. So in closing, I want to share something I heard the other day. One of my favorite podcasts is called The Bible for Normal People. If you haven't listened to it, please listen. The hosts are incredible in breaking down the Bible in very common terms. They were interviewing a man named Dale Allison, and the topic was encountering mystery. And the Dale was talking about how the experiences that he's had with the divine. And he was asked, why do some people experience this and some people don't? And Dale suggested that there might be something genetic. He said a lot of people in his family are attuned to experiencing the divine, and he describes it as being a thin person, where you're so thin that you are able to transcend the human experience and the spiritual experience. And then after they were done talking, the hosts were commenting with one another, and one of the hosts said that he has grown accustomed to thickening himself because he's been traumatized in certain situations. That he shuts off that connection to the divine because of experiences that have harmed him in the past. So I would suggest that it's not just genetic, but it's practice. If we're able to engage all parts of our brain, we can cross that thin space from human to spiritual. Doing that makes, if we're thickening ourselves, What we're actually doing is making the divine small. And I don't know about you, but the divine is much bigger than I can ever imagine. And I don't want to do or think anything that is going to make the divine smaller than it is. The antidote, I believe, is unconditional love. I want you to find spaces and people that create unconditional love for you. And I want you to be one of those people that creates unconditional love for others. And because I think it's worth repeating, I just want to leave you with, you are enough.
Okay, so thank you, Alejandro. So many things that you lifted up will remain with me, I hope also with you. So we mentioned earlier that the projects demonstrate the transformation that each of the students experienced in themselves over the course of the 3 years. I'd like to invite them to now share with us their representation of how, as a community, they have transformed. So, when you're ready, friends, come on up.
We are woven together with love.
We listen to understand. Our listening teaches us to be still and to appreciate how our lives are entwined in mystery. In listening, we become vessels for the Spirit and the divine to be with us. And it is in this sacred space that we are woven together in a tapestry of love.
We must then have the courage to listen to the truth of our own lives, to the wisdom that comes from within, and respond without resistance or need to control, but with welcome and curiosity. This is what ensures our becoming is an unfolding of our truest self.
This lifelong unfolding cannot be carried out alone. It requires help from friends, loved ones, family, creature companions, nature, and Mother Earth, who bear witness to what makes us come alive. It says to us, listen, look, feel, pay attention to that, and remember, all is sacred, and all is love.
We are woven together with love.
Telling stories, sharing the memories, giving thanks for the relationships, understandings, and experiences past that have shaped us to this day.
Celebrating new beginnings that excite, holding risks together, leaning into unknowns with the promise of support and companionship.
Listening to the future, calling uniquely to each of us in the midst of all of life's noises. Helping one another find our place in the shared labor of collective life.
Supporting each other in what it is the world's ache is asking from us.
We are woven together with love.
To say, for the first time, this is who I am. This is the truth of my body. This is what I know about myself. This is my name, and this is where my path is leading me.
And to have it heard, have it received, have it affirmed.
And then to say it again and again. As we change and as the world changes, and to have each proclamation greeted with an open-armed embrace.
We are woven together with love.
There is no me without you. We shape one another. The sacred that birthed us weaves our lives together so that we can only find ourselves through shared becoming.
For my journey and all its winding ways, and for yours, for all those who have labored for what is, and all our relations whose lives have made ours possible, for all those yet to come, for whom living our truths today will mean breaking possibilities open for them tomorrow.
We pause.
We
We
give
give
thanks.
thanks.
We
We
acknowledge.
acknowledge. We are woven together with love.
So Rachel built this beautiful basket for us to weave our ribbons around. Thank you, Rachel.
Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together, weave us together, together in love. We are many textures, we are many colors, each one different from the other. But we are entwined with one another in one great tapestry. Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together, weave us together, together in love. We are different instruments playing our own melodies, each one tuning to a different key. But we are all playing in harmony, in one great symphony. Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together, weave us together, together in love. A moment ago we did not know our unity, only diversity. Now the love in me greets the love in you in one great family. Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together, weave us together, together in love.
Oh my goodness, thank you. That was just beautiful. And this creation, it so captures the variety of individuals who started out together not knowing, well, with the exception of perhaps our two sisters, they knew each other. But starting out not knowing each other and all of the just wide variety of backgrounds and gifts that you each had. And now, 3 years later, you really have created some unity of soul together. So this is the fun part where we get to give you your certificates. So I'm going to say a few things first. And for those of you who might not know, the Wellstreams program is 3 years. The first year is dedicated primarily to deepening self-awareness expanding one's sense of who and how and what the mystery of the divine might be, and learning to trust themselves and each other. And then the second 2 years involve supervised practicum, where they are actually offering spiritual direction to 2 individuals. And some of you are here today who received that gift from our interns. They get lots of practice, lots of support and encouragement from our faculty and from our staff of supervisors who are phenomenal. I give thanks every day that we have these remarkable, gifted, beautiful people who give their time, their talents for a pittance, I will say. But they give their time and talent for the benefit of sharing in your walk, right? So this was our pandemic class, my pandemic babies right here. The entire first year, from August until June, they never met in person. We had one in-person gathering that was delightful, and then maybe only a handful thereafter. They did it. Even with the separation of technology, being online, looking at each other as little squares on the screen, they did it. And Alejandro mentioned just how dire the world is right now, how dire the situation of our world is. And yes, we need awakened lives. We need compassion. We need curiosity and wonder and hope. These people are going to carry that out into the world. And so I'm going to say, you're going to save the world. Yeah. Even if it's just one little piece of it, it will matter. Yeah. So the gifts that were elevated within you, and the things that you learned, discovered, and maybe some things you let go, right? You discovered that you do have deep curiosity and a delight in wonder. Rather than stepping back at something that's unknown, you learn that you can, you do lean in and say, I wonder what that might be. And you discovered incredible expansion of your self-compassion, which of course leads to greater compassion for the world. You risked your vulnerabilities. This group, as others, but this group seemed to have it more than any other. Their share of grief and sorrow, illness and worry. You all lived through that together with each other and through it. And you found out, no matter how badly it hurt, you have somebody to stand with you. You don't just have a somebody, you have all of these somebodies. And that risking your vulnerability is an important part about being in a deep relationship. You grew in your ability to trust your own wisdom. You grew in your ability to trust the presence of the mystery of the divine. Oh, you learned to listen, right? It seems like such a simple thing, and yet You learned it to the degree that it is now an art within you. You accepted your both and, that you are terribly wounded and achingly flawed, and you are so blessed and so brilliantly gifted. It's both, which is true humility, to be able to embrace both. We've got some humble folks here. Just imagine a world that is touched by these gifts that you carry forward. Even if you never sit in a session with a directee, even if there is no formal use of these gifts, they will bless the world. They will bless your lives, and they will bless all the lives of the people you touch. And I'm just so delighted to award your certificates to you now. So as I call your name, please come forward, and I will also call your supervisor, who will present your certificate. So, here we go. You ready? Get on with it, right? Okay, so Tracy Lynn Berry and your supervisor, Carrie Reed. Come on up. Come on up. Get the whole deal.
Tracy, is this stop along your journey? May it be a time of celebration and a time of looking forth and anticipation. Copy every step.
I'm going to ask Carrie to stay just 1 second longer. Carrie has been an incredibly faithful everything for Wellstreams. He also, along with Sharon, was part of the original team that dreamed Wellstreams into being. He has been a supervisor for us from the very first class. A little short break in there somewhere, but he's back. He is officially retiring, and so we want to thank him for his time. We're going to miss him. Maybe he'll be around a little bit. Okay. Dawn Elizabeth Cornell, and Sharon Reed will stand in for her supervisor, Lisa Bush, who could not be here today. I will mention that Dawn has traveled the farthest to be at this class. She lives in Northern California. So the need for virtual connection proved a great benefit, and we loved the times that Dawn made the trip here, so thank you. Doris Lynn Cornell and her supervisor, Catherine Murphy.
got me involved in this.
It's all my fault.
She was my supervisor for 8 years. I mean, my spiritual director. Thank you.
Catherine Murphy also is retiring from supervision, and we honored her at our gathering that Alejandro mentioned, where we got to see the projects. Catherine, you will be missed greatly. And I now call Bianca Di Maria and her supervisor intern, Deb Eichley, who also completed her training to become a supervisor. There's a lot of love in this group. Maggie Catherine Irvin, MSP, and her intern supervisor, John Kuhn. Thank you so much. Barbara K. Foll and her supervisor, Douglas Argue. Mary Ellen George and her supervisor, Annie Dalby. The next one. Rachel A. Miller, MDiv. Kevin H. Orr, and Douglas Argue. And Kevin was our lone male in a sea of women. Proud of him. We need more men to have these lovely qualities I described. Janet Schmidt and Sharon Reed.
Love you. Aw. Come to my house and visit me.
Janet hosted several of our gatherings at her lovely home, for which I am very grateful. Thank you. Heather Vaki and her supervisor, Loretta Farmer. Heather began with a different supervisor who had a family illness and needed to step away. And so Loretta stepped in about halfway through, and we're very grateful. We're getting down to the bottom here. Hannah Wilson. And her supervisor, Margot. And Margot Connor has been a supervisor for 10 years? 8. Unbelievably gifted and retiring. And we will sorely miss her as well. And so, Margot, please accept this. Okay. Last but not least, Laura A. Whistler and her supervisor, Kathy Davis. Let's all give a warm round of applause and celebration for this lovely group. Superheroes saving the world. So, thank you, each of you. Go out and remember, as Alejandro said, you are enough. I'd like to invite Christine Heister to come up again, and she will sing our benediction. And when that is done, please head to that refreshment stand. Please, because we don't want to take a bunch of that home. Oh, I'm being told to wait. Oh, no. Come on, you guys. Sharon, I think you're being invited up too. Good heavens. Oh, good heavens.
So obviously, mere beautiful tulips are not enough to share our great gratitude for each of you and all you've done to hold us together and keep us in that class.
We did it. We did it.
Yes. So these are just a little gesture from all of us to thank both of you. Oh, we love you very
And we felt it fitting. Oh. And we felt it fitting that this creation from our class be donated and in love to the Spirituality Network to live there. So this is for the Spirituality Network.
I was hoping we were going to get this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. Blessings, my friends. Do not be strangers. Okay? Amen. Christine, if you'll bless us out.
So I would invite you to, with the hearts softened by this celebration, and for all of you, with open hands, to receive this benediction. May the long-time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on. Guide your way on. May this pure sun shine